Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, they, thems. How you doing on this lovely Friday night? We have a special live stream going on with the one and only John Shinholser. And then we have Dr. Erin Berthold. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're muted, Jen. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was having a little bit of technical issues.
That
was
does
a
happen.
pretty intro.
I know.
That's got a bad feature though. Have the women muted though. I got to remember that how to do that.
All right. So what we got going on this week? I do know that John and Dr. Erin Berthold. Am I saying your last name right?
Yeah, actually,
Okay.
you are.
Okay. I know that you guys attended like an addiction type summit thing in Virginia.
Yeah, it's the annual. What do they call the Virginia Association of Addiction Professionals? They do every summer. They do a summit where it's a 4-day conference. Anybody in Virginia, addiction professional, peer support service providers, you got to get a bunch of continuing education units. So this is a place they can come and probably get all they want for the year there. So it's an awesome event. They've been hosting it for like 20 years, maybe longer. Just an incredible event in Virginia. We were honored to be able to do a presentation, the Kratom Education presentation, which was an awesome event. Dr. Berthold, she crushed it. She did a fabulous job. It was just simply amazing.
Somebody
Erin,
phone
what
going
you
on?
think?
Yeah. I was really excited to be able to do it and then to also get feedback from people who are seeing, Kratom come into their spaces and what that's looking like, and to be able to give them education about all these different product types and know what questions to ask people if they're coming into intake, and to really try to better understand what's going on.
You know what? So the people who don't know who you are, Dr. Erin, can you give us a background about what you do in this space?
Yeah, so I got my PhD at UF, University of Florida, with Chris McCurdy and Abhishek Sharma. Those were my PIs. And my dissertation actually focused on cannabis and kratom interactions for substance use disorder treatment in preclinical models of addiction. And now I consult kind of throughout different industries. So it's not kratom only, but where I am working in kratom, it's either getting more safety information, working on studies to try to kind of build up our safety dossier for kratom leaf specifically, and then also to advocate for responsible adult use, which is how I think kratom should be regulated. And just trying to share, I think one of the difficult things is in the space that I've worked in kratom. So I started school in 2018. Everything's changed, right?
Mhm.
I mean, even in that short amount of time. And so I think it's really difficult sometimes, especially when, trying to convey what we know now, it's different than what we knew 2 years ago, and how quickly that's moving. I don't think there's a lot of spaces where the science is moving that quickly, and we're building up like the evidence so quickly. So it's like, I've got my alerts, and a couple times a week I get an alert about a new study or something that's come out, and trying to stay on top of that and to be able to continue to communicate that.
How many studies do you think they've done so far on kratom and peer reviewed? Or do you know?
Between 2,000 and 3,000, probably, maybe like 2,000.
Over 2,000.
2,000, yeah, 2,000 to 3,000.
And
So I could,
hundreds of peer reviewed.
yeah. I always say when I'm testifying, or well, not really, but whenever I talk about it, I'll say that there's over 1,000 studies. So I can say 2,000, over 2,000, 3,000.
I think so. Yeah, I can get you an exact number afterwards. I just did for a project, like a literature.
Nice.
review.
It's just so crazy, like how often we hear there's been no studies at all. There needs to be studies.
Right.
There's just
I
nothing.
have to my name at least 20, and I've only been doing this since like 2018. So just like think of, I'm a single person in like a single work group, right?
You've
And
been on 20 different study projects.
I have 20 different kratom peer-reviewed publications.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, we work too. We were workhorses down at UF, and they keep
Yeah.
pumping them out.
Yeah, that press conference today did say there were no studies.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And that's what you hear. And then so it's like people don't think, and that was what this event was about, just showing them like, hey, most of these are from 2024, 2025, 2026, and we do have continuing data that keeps coming out. So you've got to be, aware of what we have right now.
Okay, so when you're doing the studies, what are you searching for?
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, it depends on what the study's for. If they're, there's like they've done them. Is the tragedy safe for human consumption? They've done them for what does like how many alkaloids? There's many.
Yeah. So like the two big ones we had grant money for at UF is we were the ones working with NIDA and NCATS to get mitragynine into clinic. So that was our group doing all the preclinical safety studies. We did rats and mice and dogs, and that's going into phase 1 now. The IND's been cleared. And so we were working on formulation development with those government research groups. And then the other big project we got was actually isolating all the alkaloids and looking at them individually to try to understand kratom as a whole, right? Like take out speciosylatein, speciogynin, penantine, give it to a mammal, see what happens, and try to decide, who's doing what when you take kratom.
So you did a study that was the precursor for them doing human trials. You were the one. So y'all like this is pioneer stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well,
we know
and you know what? Yeah, and you know what we hear a lot, especially we read from the 708ers, is because that whole what'd you say, IND or India?
Investigational new drug application.
Yeah. So they like to say that they're making it into a pharmaceutical, and when they do that, we will no longer have kratom available.
CBD hemp, is the best example of CBD has an approved drug product, Epidiolex for juvenile epilepsy, but they've kind of made a mess of that. So I'm hoping we go in a better path, because is hemp legal or illegal? Is marijuana, it's always kind of a mess. So hopefully we can kind of avoid that. And I think with the action from DEA, like kind of putting a threshold for kratom with these other compounds might help there. It would also help to have some like regulatory surety from FDA.
Because I don't care if they make a pharmaceutical. I don't care, but as long as I have, as long as I still have the option to freely buy my leaf, I'm cool with that. I don't care.
Yeah. And you should, because mitragynine isolate is not the same as kratom leaf powder. And we know that, right? We know you have exposure to some of these other minor alkaloids that have activity at different receptors that probably account for some of the felt effects of kratom consumption, especially like the mood boosting effects are probably those ones that interact with serotonin and things like that. So, they're putting mitragynine forward for like a very specific purpose, which is OUD and potentially withdrawal, like something for acute opioid withdrawal.
Yeah.
But that's going to also be years, right? That's going to be another decade, probably.
Speaking of which, this is what I come to understand. If let's say you're on an opiate, and they make you wait a couple days before they put you on Suboxone or buprenorphine. But I heard that you can be on an opiate, you can go to kratom for a few days and then start your buprenorphine. Is that a good assumption, or?
That's what we've seen. Like that's what we see out of Southeast Asia. It's like active methamphetamine and heroin users are using kratom simultaneously to either, if they can't get there
for deeper clinical services, medication replacement therapies. They can like jumpstart and prepare them for medication replacement therapies.
I think
so. Let me study on that yet, though. Here,
but let me give you my case study. Okay, so I was an active addict for 11 years. From 2008 to 2019, I was addicted to my drug of choice was oxycodone. I was prescribed the 20 milligram oxycodone for 7 years straight. What kratom did for me and this is what I would, if you have the answer for this, what kratom did for me when I first tried it was it pressed pause in my brain from craving. I wasn't craving the cocaine. I wasn't craving the pill. I wanted to, because I was snorting the pill. Towards the end of my addiction, I was snorting the pills and then smoking them off aluminum foil. And then when I got fired from my pain management doctor in April 2019, I started doing cocaine. I was still buying pills from drug dealers and stuff, but I really picked up doing cocaine bad, like doing immoral things to get cocaine bad. you know. So, but when I took kratom, I didn't crave anything for 6 hours. My brain, I got up, I was cleaning my house, I cooked my kids dinner, I was washing and drying the clothes, listening to music, and it didn't hit me when I was doing it. It was when I went to bed that night and I was like, oh my God, I didn't think about, you know, calling Peter and trying to get money from Paul, I
So why was
wasn't,
that, Erin? Why was that? What alkaloid was hitting what
yeah.
receptor to make her, best you
I
can
mean,
tell?
well, obviously they think it might be mitragynine because that's what's moving to clinic. I think it's more than that, right? Like I think I'm kind of like a plant purist person. I think the plant itself has some magic there with all the different compounds. So that's like what I would love to see is some sort of, like standardized product where we have certain values that we know these alkaloids should be at these amounts. But yeah, I think it would be a complex interplay. I don't think there's one compound that was doing that for you, unfortunately.
Well, I
I mean,
love the plant.
fortunately for you, but unfortunately for science, right? Because
Yeah.
pharma, what they like is one compound. They like to approve
Yeah.
a drug that's a single compound. There's no precedent. I mean, John, we were the ones just talking about this, right? You were telling me you have some sort of like multiple drugs, but they've all been approved individually and then put into, like a combination. Like we don't really have a pathway forward.
Drugs is one whatever.
Yeah, we don't have a pathway yet, which I would love to develop for some sort of complex, botanical inspired thing that's multiple compounds. But the reason is it just makes safety so hard to figure out because you have to do individual safety studies on each of those compounds to say the whole thing is safe.
And then
It's
you got to do a study combining them. I mean, if you got
Yeah.
40 alkaloids, it takes 5 years for 40, then another. I mean, you'd have to do.
Well, one of the things we talked about, and in doing those studies of pulling out the individuals, was like maybe making our own, kind of like mishmash of figuring out which ones we thought were important and putting those ones together.
Like doing your own blends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why America needs a plant pathway.
Yeah.
I know it's got something. I don't know what it's called, but to me, it's not very either. It's not very well known. It's not protected, I don't think. But plants were here long before FDA medications, and I take some FDA blood pressure pills, and obviously, if you've had operations, you've done FDA meds before. So I'm not at all knocking FDA, but that can't be the end all cure all for everything, especially knowing we had plants for century after century after century. But I think America, they need some sort of plant pathway for consumers, adult consumers, to make decisions.
Yeah, and I think the problem is, in the grand scheme of things, we're a very young nation, right? I mean, we're talking about Eastern medicine is essentially what we're talking about, which is where all these come from. And a lot of those places have dedicated, they believe in plants as medicines or herbs as medicines because they've just been around longer. I don't think we've existed as a nation long enough to kind of.
You got a plant book. It must be that thick. And that's just one volume of maybe a dozen volumes. But, plant doctors, I'm sure they got them. But I did want to mention something as we get into this hour. I was amazed at that conference we went to. And we set up a American veteran, kratom table, advocating, trying to educate people. We had great information packs and, good documented stuff. But you got to realize we're in a room of the peer support specialists, the counselors, the Suboxone clinics, and they're walking around looking at us, eyeballing us. It's almost as if we were the fentanyl salesman in the room.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
We ain't selling nothing. We just want to educate people.
Right.
And Erin kind of witnessed this. There was some pushback from some people that weren't even there. They got on the committee's butt, like demanding they cancel that thing, right? Don't you dare let them educate anybody. They come from the devil. And they got that committee so worried. They felt like there was going to be some disruptors show up. They had city police outside our door.
Outside of me speaking. Can you imagine?
Yeah. I took a picture of it. I got the photograph.
Yeah, you showed me.
And I even asked them, what are y'all here for? Y'all planning on some disruptors? They said, we're just making sure. But here's how it ended. Before we had our presentation, we were there for 3 days. On day 3, we had our presentation. There was a big buzz in the whole conference. That was the talk of the conference, that Kratom education session. And they were worried they were going to have not enough seats because it looked like everybody wanted to attend that session. And they did have another session, got canceled. I'm assuming because they didn't show up or there wasn't enough people. So we ended up getting a room twice the size. So everybody that wanted to be there, they were there. And I counted 105 people in that room when Erin started talking. And the miracle is at the end, we did a post-evaluation. We had 68 people did a post. And these are the counselors, the therapists, the peer support specialists, the treatment center owners. And 90% of them, they were all really good. 90% was just fabulous right down the line. We loved the training. We loved Dr. Erin. We loved the information. We did not know that there was a difference between the plant and 7-OH and chemicals. And and it should absolutely, 90%, overwhelming, absolutely should remain legal in the marketplace for 21 and older, which I thought was that was very important. But they wanted more, and some of them wrote on it. We'd like to have more training, more education. So, and then the committee reached back out to me, and they said, John, we think that was the fan favorite of all the outbreak sessions, maybe of the whole conference. And they were talking to us on how we could organize, a more regular Kratom education type, event. So it was just an amazing event. And Erin, we couldn't have done that without you, because Erin shows up with a 140 slide PowerPoint.
Oh, gee.
She was breaking down the pharmacology.
There were some comments that were like too many big words.
Well, you use big words. Too sciencey, but still, they got it. We were able to reach peers and counselors, and they understood it. They got it. They know the basic fundamentals, and they're not living in fear. Mm-hmm. They don't feel like they're demonized or stigmatized for getting knowledge, and that's so important. So
that's so important right now. Education just alone, with all this misinformation going around, that's all you see on social media. That's all you see in the news headlines. That's all you see. So it's
and they're not even talking about kratom. They're
exactly
talking about synthetics and more dangerous adulterated products. And they were glad to hear that. Look, we know the plant itself, if that's all you're taking, if you're taking it for the purpose to get high, you're going to have a problem, because you will develop a dependence. You'll want more, and the next thing you know, you're going to develop some withdrawal, symptoms, and it's not good. So they understood that too. So it was good all the way around.
I tried to get high on kratom when I was very new into my journey with kratom. I used to take 5 teaspoons 5 times a day. I still never achieved that head high that oxys used to give me.
No,
I did not get high, and
I got sick.
Yeah, I got sick.
What's the deal there? Erin, what's the deal with that? Can you get high on the stuff or what?
I mean, I think the extracts for sure, right? The leaf itself has self-limiting, because you can't, to Jen's point, you're going to vomit or just be sick to your stomach way before you're ever going to get to any sort of head high. I mean, that's one of the things I always say. It's like, there's a lot better drugs out there than
right.
I don't know. Yeah. If that's what you're trying to use, to get high.
Well, there's a ceiling effect.
A lot of different directions. Like there's
a ceiling effect.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's mostly driven by the fact that
too much, you'll probably vomit.
If you try and get past that ceiling effect, you are going to be miserable.
Yeah, that's a kratom overdose.
Yeah.
Well, and what is it? It's a partial agonist. It hits the mu-opioid receptor, but it doesn't cross over it like a full opiate would.
It doesn't bind in the same spot, is what partial agonism means. Like full agonists bind in a certain pocket on a receptor, and they cause the full effects of that receptor to happen. And by full effects, I mean what we've decided are the full effects of a receptor being activated. Because when a receptor gets activated, it's basically like the first link in dominoes, right? You knock one down and then they go tick, 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 tick.
Yeah.
And so mitragynine hits and really has a G protein bias, which means it kind of pushes effects towards the other way. or towards a different way, which is why, why you're not seeing like the respiratory depression, why you're not seeing as much analgesia, right? Like you get some, but it's not as good as, your traditional painkiller, I guess we could call it. And that's why you don't, get the euphoria.
The way that I like to describe the activation part is it's like, so kratom is like goes on there. It's like a dimmer switch. Kratom just goes up there and just hangs out. It's got its little legs just, swinging in the air. It's not going to bind. It's not going to jump into it or anything like that. It's just a little dimmer.
Now there must be a craving reducing alkaloid in it, because a lot of people, I've noticed a lot of alcoholics, they stop drinking, they take kratom, meth heads do it, so it seems to be a gamut of products. So is there an alkaloid that hits on that makes you want to reduce cravings?
The only one we know opioid specific is quinantidine is an antagonist at the opioid receptor. But now that we have human clinical like pharmacokinetic data, we're not seeing a lot of that systemically. That doesn't mean it's not there. That doesn't mean it's not acting. It's just that it's not quantifiable. But I think a lot of these have their, we don't know. We focused so wholly on opioid activity that like, we know a little bit about serotonin. We have some studies, showing ascending and descending adrenergic and different types of, these CNS, central nervous system pathways. But I don't think we really know.
Now, what's the deal with people saying they Narcan people overdosing on kratom? I mean, can the plant make you overdose, and would Narcan be effective on it, or do you know?
Like, so you're talking about a pure opioid overdose then?
No, what I'm saying,
kratom.
When you hear the news, they'll bring a policeman on there and they go, yeah, kratom's so bad, we had the Narcan that came out of Mini Mart, brought him back to life, and it's like
I usually say they weren't taking kratom. Yeah,
if Narcan's working, it's something else. But what are your thoughts?
I would think that would be difficult with leaf. I mean, it just when we do mitragynine isolated, right? It's hard to get to any and we've given, I know this isn't directly translatable, but we've given rodents so much more than a human would ever consume, and we don't see your typical opioid activation effects in rodents, which is why I know something else is different. Like I've given 7-hydroxy side by side to mitragynine in mice, like on the same day at the same time, and like just the observational effects are very, very different. Like, 7-hydroxy is acting like an opioid. They've got their little tails over like scorpions. It's called straw tail, and they're marching. They're like hyperactive because you know how opioids really kind of give you that hyperactivity. And then with mitragynine, even so, what was the dose there? Like 5 times higher dose, like 356 milligrams per kilogram in a mouse. They're just kind of like sleepy. You're just giving them a lot, but like you don't see any of that. No tail flipping, no nothing like that is like, oh yeah, those mu opioid receptors are activated. So it's difficult to say, but I think because we know Narcan's so selective, I would just assume that person was taking 7-hydroxy or MGPI or something that we know is a much more potent mu opioid receptor agonist.
Okay, so I have a question for you. Okay, is it actually possible to take enough pure leaf kratom to get a 10 or 15 milligram of 7-OH?
Oh, what a weird question. Yeah, I've heard this one. Okay, so the limit we have.
You start with trace amounts of 7-OH in a leaf.
Right.
Sure. So if we're going dose by dose and leaf has none, then no. But I'm assuming you're talking more about your body producing it as a metabolite, right?
Okay. Yeah, so say like I took 1 ounce of kratom in one sitting. What would that convert to into 7-OH in my body? Do you know that?
Yeah, I could do the math for you. So what we're seeing in humans is like 15 to 25% exposure ratio for 7-hydroxy to mitragynine. So if you have 100 milligrams per liter, I mean, that's a huge amount, 100 nanograms per mil, because you would never have that much of mitragynine just kind of floating around your body, then you'll have like 15 to 25 of 7-hydroxymitragynine. And that's like very crude because these are also over time. So that would be like
Right.
the entire time you have it.
Yeah,
in
how
your
much
body.
leaf would that be somebody would have to put in their body? Like
Yeah,
gallon bucket, 10-gallon bucket?
a tree.
A tree. Well, the limiting factor here and like why we can't say, and I hope we never find out because I don't want to. I mean, we could if someone's going to invest in it, but we need to know how humans, the pharmacokinetics of 7-hydroxy in humans, right? Like we really don't have an idea of like if you take a 7-hydroxy pill, how much shows up in your blood, and that is what we would need to be able to make that direct comparison. Because it as a metabolite versus it as a pure compound, we don't have that data in humans. We have it in dogs, which is like a good, kind of, I guess, the best we have is we've given a dog 7-hydroxy and we've given a dog, but we've only given a dog pure mitragynine. So I guess that's also not a perfect match. So it's not something that's easy to say. I can say it's just not that simple. Like whenever you
Yeah.
try to hear someone say, oh, you're making 20% in your
Yeah.
body,
Yeah.
that's not what's happening. You have mitragynine, and then over that same amount of time we're measuring the mitragynine in your blood, we're seeing some amount of 7-hydroxymitragynine. And it's like from that time period, if we take blood samples from 0 hours to 72 hours, that's where we're getting those ratios. Is like, okay, it was 20% of the mitragynine that we saw over that period of time. And then there's even more complication to it, which is the fact that like not a lot of these are free. So most of them are plasma protein bound. So like mitragynine is over 90%. So then like 90% of that measurement of mitragynine floating around isn't available to do work. Only free drug is available to do work. So that then also complicates the matter, right? It's like how much is free? And then the next part would be like how much crosses the blood-brain barrier, which we don't have that information. In humans, we can't get it. We can't poke people's brains. But we do know that mitragynine crosses really well past the BBB, and 7-hydroxy a little less because it's a little bit, the OH makes it a little less likely to cross the BBB, but it also gets into your brain. I know that I think it was someone recently, I think it was GKC, put out some sort of like modeling of like what that would look like. But I think the best thing to look at is look at the pharmacokinetics and look at the amounts, and you can convert them into like nanomolar amounts. And that's how we measure like opioid binding. And you see that when you take kratom, you're not really getting 7-hydroxy as a metabolite higher than that amount you need to start binding at opioid receptors. And so I think that's a better way to try to look at it.
So 10 grams a day.
Yeah.
You do 10 grams a day, 10 days later. I mean, what's the most 708 or I mean, gram in, gram out?
Gram in, gram out.
I mean, can it build up over time?
No, we actually don't see that, which is interesting. Mitragynine accumulates. We aren't really seeing 7-hydroxy accumulate. That could be an artifact of the fact that the 7-hydroxy concentrations are so low that after a certain time period, they go under the detection limit, right? So it's like we see 7-hydroxy from 0 to 8 hours, but that's just because it went under 1 nanogram per mil, which is like the detection limit, as opposed to mitragynine, which stays above the detection limit from 0 to 72 hours. But yeah, I think the better thing to look at there is how much, like what's the actual Cmax, so the maximum concentration of 7-hydroxy that a human can have after they consume kratom, and is that above 7-hydroxy's binding affinity at the mu opioid receptor? Because if it's not, and you're not going to have enough free 7-hydroxy to do anything, which I think, I'm not sure about the highest dose in the FDA study, but I know that the clinicals where they went up to 4 grams, it would be like right on the borderline of like our lowest binding affinity, which is like 7 nanomolars. So you're not really getting amounts that should be able to be doing a lot of work in your body.
I think they did 12 grams at the highest level.
They did, and I can't remember what their 7-hydroxy was at that level in nanomolars.
So
I don't even know what the heck nanomolars are.
Yeah, it's a different way to quantify. Like nanograms per mil is like a mass per volume. Nanomolars actually looks at the molecular weight of the compound. and uses that to say the amount that's in there. So
Okay.
traditionally, when we're talking about amounts in your body, like pharmacokinetics and things like that, like amount in your blood, we're going to be doing nanograms per mil, mass per volume, because that's easier for us to work with. A lot of the in vitro people are going to be using nanomolar when we're talking about like binding affinity.
So somebody mentioned liver just a minute ago. So what does leaf do to your liver?
What does leaf do to your liver? I mean,
like the conversion of 7-OH and how that pharmacologically different than the actual 7-O or 7, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think what we found interestingly clinically when we did the clinical drug-drug interaction study is that the intestinal metabolism of kratom alkaloids is actually really important because they're CYP3A4 dependent for their metabolism and your gut. So all your intestines have a bunch of CYP3A4. Because in that drug-drug interaction study, we saw some interaction with CYP3A4 probe drug and kratom leaf at 2 grams. But it didn't seem to be like a liver reaction or a liver interaction because the half-life didn't change. So there's something going on in your gut. If you're taking drugs that are metabolized by CYP3A4 and you're taking kratom. But yeah, kratom in your liver, the liver is also making it, but I think the liver's got a high capacity to do work. So a lot of times when we get these, and that's like, I would caution people when you look at an in vitro study that says, like, especially for kratom alkaloids, like all of our in vitro work told us that there was going to be major cytochrome P450 2D6 interactions, which is the liver enzyme that metabolizes a lot of drugs, like most drugs, I would say. Like that was what we were concerned about. And then we put it in vivo. We did that clinical trial, no interaction. So it's just like your liver does have like a really good capacity to do work. But it does put a, that's a lot of compounds for your liver to have to be dealing with because all kratom alkaloids need to be metabolized. None of them are going to just freely excrete in your urine, most likely, just because of their properties. And so I think that's another interesting thing I hope we research more is like the other active metabolites of other kratom alkaloids, because I think they could be really interesting pharmacologically.
So how is the supply of like the leaf products coming in America that typically clean products? I hear extracts are a lot cleaner. They eliminate heavy metals, bacteria, whatever.
Plant matter, period.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like a well-made, responsibly dosed extract is cleaner. No doubt about it. Because sometimes, when you hear, 150 grams of leaf consumption, I'm like, oh my goodness, like, would you go and eat your entire like dried sage or sage doesn't get powdered, dried parsley in your cabinet, right? Like it's the same thing. You got to think of it that way. Like this is kind of like more of a food-based thing. And how much of an actual dried other botanical would you consume? You probably shouldn't be consuming that much. And it's not good for you in the sense that it does have heavy metals. It is a natural product. Like those are there. I think the microbial, and I'm proud of the kratom industry for this, since the salmonella in what was that, like 2018?
2018.
I read 2018.
I haven't seen any other major ones. And I think a lot of that, we, credit to Southeast Asia. I know Thailand put in, and Indonesia put in rules of needing some sort of kill step. So either, heat sterilization or gamma radiation or whatever that is. Because we haven't seen.
That's interesting because they're strict on their people, but yet for export, they want to make sure it's clean and I guess whatever.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that goes back on them eventually. When that outbreak happened, it was traced to a single supplier that had been, white labeling, I think, a bunch of different products. And that's not good for business if it comes back that you're the supplier that supplied the salmonella laden.
Right.
So these 7-OH products that are on the market right now, like when somebody consumes those, and I mean, that's, keep in mind, I know that there's other things in those products. Some of them we don't even know. But I mean, is that pretty much converted through your liver as well? The same way as like metragine?
So 7-hydroxy, because it's a metabolite, is going to just leave through your kidneys. I mean, we do see the MGPI form in the plasma, right? So that's a cool...
What's MGPI?
Oh, sorry, mitragynine and pseudodoxil.
Oh, okay.
So, what do you guys call it? Pseudo?
Yeah.
Okay, so pseudo happens in your blood plasma. But because it's a metabolite, a lot of it's just going to be able to filter freely through your kidneys. It's not going to have to be further metabolized. there's the, conversion to pseudo. There's probably a few other things, maybe an acidification somewhere that often carboxylic acid is usually something that you see for these sorts of compounds, but it's going to be able to go through your liver. That's why it's made when you take kratom, right? Your body's trying to, detox the mitragynine. So
yeah, you've worked on some committees with some, I guess, industry people or scientific people. I heard that they're trying to come up with a standardized recommended dosing or serving size not to exceed. What's that looking like?
40 milligrams mitragynine, no more than twice a day.
40.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So
Nice.
I would prefer it a little lower personally, because I like to think of the naive person, right?
Yeah.
Because, y'all, like people who understand their dose and can do it. This isn't a hard fast rule. Like someone's coming to your house if you take 50, right? So I fought for maybe like a 30, but I'm okay with 40, no more than twice a day.
Is that from the leaf or from a drink, or just
Leaf
40 milligrams?
is all we can support right now as scientists, right? I mean, we just don't have data for extracts. So the recommendation there is if you're selling an extract, do the work. You're making money.
Well, if it's a 40 milligram extract, that's like 4 grams a leaf. Is that about right?
It would depend. Extracts can really vary in their concentration. Right. I've seen 45% extracts. I've seen 80% extracts. It really depends on what that extract looks like, which is another reason.
Standardized would be good.
Yeah.
Both leaf and extract.
I would love if we could add that into some bills, because I don't know who it hurts, right? Like, no, people can take as much as they want. Like, there's no one's actually, it's just giving education to those people who don't know, how much maybe you should take.
And if it's standardized, like across the board, I can't tell you how many hearings we've been in where they're like, there's no recommended amount. There's nobody knows exactly how much they should or shouldn't be taking. And that's why a pharmacist needs to prescribe.
Well, I think all GMP products do have a serving size not to exceed, but they're not all the same. Some are higher, some are lower. And but
if it was like a standard all the way across the board, that I feel like would be a huge deal.
Yeah.
So what if it's like a 45% extract versus an 85% extract? Is the 85% extract got more of the natural leaf products in it?
So 85 is going to be basically just all alkaloids, right? So that's going to be, you've only isolated the alkaloid fraction. Because if you think about it, in your natural leaf, you've got like about 66, I think we say 66 to 82% of the alkaloid content is mitragynine. So if you're purifying up to like 80% mitragynine, then the rest of the 20% is going to be those other alkaloids. And you basically have like 100% alkaloid fraction extract. At a 45%, you're probably bringing in some other plant compounds, botanical compounds, like some flavonoids and some terpenes and things like that, like the things that would like whatever your extraction solvent is. So those ones, you're just really getting rid of the fiber. The concern when you start to get more and more purified in terms of alkaloids is that you're going to start messing with that natural balance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what would 40 milligrams of, what would you say? 40 milligrams?
Mitragynine. Twice a day.
Okay, so what would 40 milligrams of mitragynine translate to into people like me that I just take a teaspoon once, 1 teaspoon once a day. So that would, if I put that on a scale, it might be 2 grams of leaf powder.
I think it's about 2 grams. If we're saying 1%, sorry, I'm pulling up my calculator.
I'm just trying, because most of us just consume it, just the leaf, we'll either in capsule form or.
Okay, so 40 at 1% would be 4 grams of leaf.
Okay.
And
if
Mike is asking, is a powdered leaf different absorption than liquid prepared drink or shot? I would guess it is if it's an extract.
Yes, and we finally have some data to support that. So we have, the Southeast Asian data where they're drinking a tea a tea that's been boiled, doesn't have any leaf mass in it, and you definitely see a much more rapid absorption. So that's like less than an hour, you're getting to your maximum concentrations, and then you have a more rapid decline. Then the one study did suspension, we could call it. So they, and I think this is another common way people say, dried leaf in water, and that way your time was a little bit longer because your stomach's got to break down the leaf and then allow that to be able to be absorbed. So I think that was about 1 to 2 hours to get to your maximum concentration. And then what we just saw with the FDA study, they did fed participants. They gave participants a high fat meal prior to the study to see like food effect. And honestly, they did it because FDA wanted the worst case scenario. And, we recommended to them that we think like high fat meal is going to make you have more alkaloids. And we saw that. And we also saw that your maximum concentration. So if you ate pizza and took kratom, it could take like anywhere between 2 to 5 hours for you to hit your maximum concentration. So it's really exciting to be able to see that data. It kind of tracks with just what we know generally about the principles behind compounds like these, but it was really fun to see.
So you're saying
so if something's dissolved in a liquid, it's really easy. Like your body doesn't have to do any work, right? So that liquid just pass through your stomach. It'll take 15-ish minutes, whatever your stomach emptying time is, it varies, but 15 to 30 minutes to pass through your stomach. As soon as it hits your gut, alkaloids cross that really easily. If you take it in any other form where your body's got to kind of try to do some work, or if there's anything like food in the way, kind of messing with things, it's going to take longer.
So if you toss and wash, it's going to take longer than if you,
in
strain
a
it
drink.
like that.
And get rid of the leaf material and drink it that way. Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've been tossing washing for years, and I just do it with orange juice.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. And I can't
about citrus, grapefruit and kratom. What's up with that?
Grapefruit and kratom should make you have less 7-hydroxy.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it should stop you from metabolizing mitragynine. So you should
So
have
many
less.
people say that grapefruit, and I'm like, it does the opposite.
Yeah.
That's one thing I do know.
Because when I was in active addiction, I used to purposely drink grapefruit juice.
A lot of people do. Yeah, a lot of people think that
I think maybe it came from, because remember when it was like, now we can just get 7-hydroxy where we want. But remember when it was like the cool thing that people were telling you how to make your kratom stronger by like hitting it with acid and stuff?
Yeah.
I think it came from that, because that was a way to get the mitragynine to convert maybe in the raw material. I don't think it really worked.
Like the red bubble method?
Yeah. People were doing all that sort of stuff. So I think it kind of flew from there. But actually, it's the opposite. If you take something that inhibits CYP3A4, you will have less 7-hydroxymitragynine. And we've proven that clinically. They did a study in Thailand where they gave a CYP3A4 inhibitor, and you basically made, no 7-hydroxy.
We see people using like citrus stuff for their 7-OH tabs. What is that doing?
Probably not a whole lot.
Well, they think they're over there making it more potent.
Yeah, I don't really think so, because like I said, 7-hydroxy is going to easily go out through your kidneys. There may be some metabolism, but not too much. It's also really rapidly cleared to begin with. Like the half-life for 7-hydroxy is just a few hours, which is another reason why we worry about it, right? Because that means you're going to need a hit quicker and quicker, whereas with kratom, the half-life is like a day. So, or for mitragynine, the half-life is a day. So, even though you'll probably, maybe want some prior to that because you've gone down, it's not going to be that. You need that immediate hit.
Red veins are sedating, but they have the lowest.
This is so okay. What's the difference in the colors? The red, the green, the white.
Yeah, I don't think we have great data on that. I still think at this point it's pretty anecdotal. There's definitely differences chemically. We have seen that, but the only study they did, and I think it was, you guys know Soren from I think
he done went 7-OH side though.
I'm not surprised. I love him to death still. He reminds me of my youngest brother. But they did a study, I think, with Oliver Grunman with their teas that are different, vein colors, and tried to connect that to people's experience. and they weren't able, like people weren't able to put it with what we think it is. So I don't think we have good data.
The color doesn't matter as much as the alkaloids.
But the alkaloids change with color, right? We do see that the alkaloid content is different. So we should be able to do it. We just probably haven't had like a good controlled on the scientific side, like data that I feel like, oh yeah, that's true. I believe you guys when you say it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. I cannot take a white strain. I cannot.
Why does coffee make it feel stronger?
Why does coffee make this happens?
Yeah, somebody's asking a question. Why does coffee feel stronger? Like a speedball.
I kind of.
I feel like it's all different. Our body chemistries are all so. I can drink a cup of coffee and literally go to sleep.
Yeah, me too. That's me. I'm caffeine all day. Moment I wake up to when I go to bed. I do switch from coffee to like Diet Coke and tea in the evenings, but yeah.
So that's funny because in my early recovery days, we'd all after the 12-step meeting, we'd go to the coffee shops and drink coffee for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'd go home, go right to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah.
But I kind of wonder if coffee's making it stronger for some people. I wonder if you're stacking. Because
that's what I would think. Like that's my best guess. Obviously, I really don't have any scientific opinion on this, but because caffeine pumps you up and kratom pumps me up. Anytime I take it, I get so hype, and I don't.
You take it?
I don't take it regularly when I have. Obviously. Oh yeah, my clients send me. I have to try. Are you kidding me?
I didn't know you did.
Of course, John and I took it once before we gave his presentation, and I was like chatty McCaffrey.
Lived experience here.
I took one of those sublingual ones, like the little kratom extract sublingual strips. Mm-hmm. Man, it's like I took, I drank 4 iced coffees. I was just like, so I could see that for me personally, but I also know that that's not everyone's kratom experience, right? Yeah. Like not everybody gets that same like really hip hit of just like so much energy and like frenetic, crazy energy, which is what I always get.
Yeah, me and Erin, we've done 3 presentations together now. We did one in South Carolina, one in Midlothian, Virginia, and then the one in Williamsburg.
Yeah.
And then I remember watching y'all's when y'all went to that recovery place. Remember y'all went there?
That was in Virginia.
Yeah, that was the one where we had taken the kratom beforehand. That was the one.
Was it?
Yeah.
We were watching that. I think they was being streamed at the time, and we were watching. It was. I remember it. That recovery center got backlashed.
Oh yeah,
and
blacklisted for having you guys there, or even talking about kratom.
The rhetoric is crazy out there right now.
It's just so sad.
It's hard, but when I started the presentation the other day, like my argument to them was whether it's banned or legal, it's here. So you need education. Like people are going to take it regardless of your personal feelings. Like we should never be pushing education away. It exists. It's in these spaces. You're going to see it. So let me give you some information about it so you don't feel, so taken aback.
Who wouldn't want to learn more about something? If you're interacting and you're dealing with so many people and you're trying to help them, like who would turn down education?
Let's say you're a devout Baptist. That Baptists don't want you learning about other religions.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I'm too curious. I'd be like, and I would ask probably a million questions but I'm just too curious of a person to just be like, I don't want to learn anything about it.
Yeah, but I mean, John, you said this too, like you're the one who came up with like peer support in recovery, and that was like that was looked down upon. That was thought as weird. Medication assisted therapy, when they came up with buprenorphine, it was like backlash against that. So it's very common in the recovery space for them to have backlash against something new, which I just can't stand because it's like recovery is different for everyone. Jen, like you were just saying, like when we take something, it's different for all of us. So same is true for if we try to stop taking stuff, like my sober doesn't have to be your sober, and that's okay.
Right. I always say quality of life is what, at the end of the day, people's quality of life is what's most important. Whatever gets you through the day and makes you have a good life.
When I first started advocating on TikTok, because there's a big recovery community over there in TikTok, and it's all broken off in little fractions, and when I started advocating over there, I was not accepted at all. Did I care? No. I didn't give a fuck, you know. But the thing of it is that one saying that's always reverberating through the recovery communities: you traded one addiction for another.
Yeah.
I cannot stand it. You know,
Yeah, but not
but
every
my
addiction
flex,
is the same. Like, as long as you're not going to jail, as long as
yeah,
you're not hurting yourself or anyone else, then that's okay.
But,
Like,
I
talking
would
about like
that's the
caffeine
abstinence.
intake. I'm a
That's
caffeine
the
that
addict for sure. Don't take it away from me. I'll punch her
yeah,
in the head.
yeah,
You
that's
know?
the abstinent-based recovering people are the most vocal. And
yeah.
out
Yeah.
of the 50 million people in recovery, only 2 million are abstinent-based. Where's the other 48 million? Let's hear from them what they're
Yeah.
doing.
Yep.
That the majority should rule on information and whatever.
My thing,
And then,
my comeback would always be is I traded a negative addiction for a positive dependency.
Yeah.
In
That's a
all my
good one.
7 years of consuming kratom, I have not relapsed once. I have not even thought about relapse. I have to dig through my brain to talk about my addiction stories. That's how recovered I am.
Yeah.
You know?
But there is this thing like, well, if it's not an FDA drug that's being prescribed by a doctor, it don't count. What?
Yeah.
Most people get some pathway without a doctor. And, we need to educate people. What's working out there?
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and that's the thing at the end of the day too. It's like, what's working? Like, if something's working for someone, why in the world would you want to take that away?
But you know
Period.
what? We're going through this 7OH and its derivatives are about to be scheduled, and that's the argument we see with the 7OHers. You
If
know?
if something is on the well, I have a lot to say about that. Like, first of all, if the 7OH products would have been put on the market the right way, then it would be a completely different story with them. I don't give a shit what people put in their body, but like I said, when they marketed as a kratom product and sold it as a kratom product, y'all came in my house trying to take my stuff because now
Mm-hmm.
kratom's in danger of being banned everywhere because it's causing so much. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna fight back. I'm not gonna let you come in my house and take my shit. I'm gonna fight back.
Yeah.
So
And now
I
she's
don't know.
sitting in a banned state.
Yeah,
You know? 7OH is partly why I got banned in Tennessee. The other
it
one is the
surely is.
Davenport Benadryl death.
7OH hasn't helped at all with any of these legal legislation, because legislators, again, like education. First of all, they don't care enough to get educated, which they should, because they're making, decisions for so many people. But the reality is they don't care. And so
They
they
don't have the
hear,
time, and
yeah.
the money. I mean, it's just everybody's already stretched so thin. And then it's like, no,
Mhm.
please understand our, kind of niche issue in a lot of places. And that's just so difficult because the easiest thing to do is just ban. And so that's
Yeah.
why it's been so hard, because I get it from that side, right? Like, especially being like a small local government. And then if
Yeah.
no advocates are showing up in person who live in my town or live in my city, why should I care? Like,
Right.
and then people are telling me it's dangerous. So I think that's something that I've always told John, and I mean for you guys too, like getting advocates on the ground in these places, I think is so important.
It is. It
Like,
is.
we're seeing, so many people are using kratom, but sometimes it's like, where are they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
We
mean,
And I
question that a
know a
lot
lot of
too.
people don't even pay attention. Like, I didn't know that kratom was really had any type of legality issues. I guess I've been consuming for almost a year, and I was like, "Are you kidding? It's illegal in Arkansas? Are you kidding me?" Like, I had no idea. But then, after Marshall Price happened, I was, I can't sit back and watch
Yeah.
people, you know,
Are you aware of what happened to Marshall Price?
no.
In 2022, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison for having over 200 grams of kratom. And 3 weeks later, he was murdered.
In prison?
yes.
He was murdered in jail, waiting transport to start his 10-year prison sentence. And kratom was saving his life for 5 years off of heroin, and although I believe he dabbled into meth addiction as well, but for 5 years, kratom was saving him.
Did he live in Arkansas, or did he
Yeah.
live somewhere else and cross the border? Or?
He lived in Arkansas. Him and his sister didn't know that kratom was illegal there. They just thought that it wasn't sold around them.
Right.
It's not like people don't automatically be like, oh, let me Google see if kratom's legal in my state.
No.
You know,
especially if you can get it, right? Like if someone's going to
Yeah.
ship it to you, or you can go buy it somewhere, why would your first thought be, well, this is illegal when I'm doing it as I walk out the door?
He was in Michigan. He started his recovery journey in Michigan. He actually worked in like I forgot what his sister or his daughter said, but he worked in like a rehab recovery center. Like I think he was a peer support specialist. Honestly, I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But he had to go back to Arkansas to do take care of some family stuff, and didn't have any kratom. So him and his sister was just like, well, they sell it over there at this gas station. The gas station was in Missouri. You know, and then he crosses back over into Arkansas, and the cop pulls him over because he had a broken broken license plate light. You know, and then the cop saw the kratom sitting on the seat, and the cop didn't know what kratom was, so he Googles it, and he's like, "It's a Schedule I drug here." You know,
oh, you're in a heap of trouble.
That's so wild. I mean, you don't want to get me started on the prison industrial complex, but like, there's too many people sitting in jail for botanicals.
Absolutely.
I don't think anybody should be in jail for. So.
Well, that's half my fight is why in the hell you want to felonize good citizens that are doing nothing wrong because somebody else is misusing a product to saving their life?
Yeah.
Especially veterans, senior citizens, working class people,
crippled people.
Yeah,
what
the hell is wrong with society?
Yeah, it don't make no sense. I mean, you just can't make it make sense. But you know, I feel bad for all the people that are consumers of 7-OH. They're caught in the middle because you know, the first thing that the industry should have been doing was trying to get science and doing something to kind of save it. Instead, they were just
they went both.
They tried.
Ways, you know?
They did one Beagle study.
Yeah, and it was terrible. Like you're never going to get our science side because we've been calling it an adulterant for 10 years. So like you needed to put it in a whole new case. Like don't bring it into kratom space, you know? Like, that's not, it's not kratom. It's never been kratom. It's something we've been worried about for kratom because we know it's a metabolite you produce. So we, you know, all of our safety work was mainly to figure out, is 7-hydroxy as a metabolite too dangerous to move mitragynine forward in the clinic? Like that's what we were looking at. So yeah, I mean, if they had any science to support it, I want them to prove me wrong, right? Like that's
I want them to prove me wrong too.
Right.
But the risk is too high. And the annoying part is they're just using our playbook from like 2018. So it's really, really hard. They're talking, pain patients, like all the things you're saying, John, that's what they're saying about 7-hydroxy. That's what we said in 2018 when we didn't want it to get scheduled. So they're just using our playbook. But the marketing I don't like because we can't market it for those things. Who knows what'll happen.
Right.
I don't know.
I told my wife I was good for an hour because we're still packing for our cruise and we got some things we got to take care of.
I was going to say, it has already been an hour. Oh my gosh.
I know. You know you talk a lot.
But y'all talk all night long. I'm just saying I'm going to have to tiptoe out of this conversation.
Well, thank you for coming, John. Where are y'all going to on your cruise?
Well, we go to Brooklyn first, and then we cruise on the Queen Mary 2, and we're going to go to England and I think France, maybe Norway.
He's going across the Atlantic Ocean on a boat. He's nuts.
Transatlantic crossing.
Not me.
So,
whoa.
So,
I'm not a cruise person.
I would go.
So
I would go.
Yeah. Well, I would go, so I'm going.
Yeah.
I just don't have that type of money, though, but I would totally go.
Well, I ain't got that kind of money either, man. Not no more. I mean, I'm going to be working at Lowe's when I get home, you know. So, anyway, y'all carry on. I love each and every one of you. Please keep up the fight. So,
we love you too, John. Thank you for coming.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.
Yeah, no, I don't know how to say that person's name. Yeah, we worked Shayna Brown's case as well. Do you know Shayna Brown's story?
I don't know. You have to remind me.
All right. So in 2023, she purchased kratom in Florida and crossed over the imaginary state line into Alabama. And there was a DUI checkpoint and she got arrested for kratom. Her bond was $1 million.
Yep.
$1 million freaking dollars. So
And there was
when
like child predators and stuff in there with her with like $10,000 bond.
yeah, 60,000, 10,000, you know? And it's like, so we had to wait till the judge lowered her bond enough. So we created a GoFundMe and we gathered a whole bunch of money from the people in the creative community. And when the bond was finally lowered, she had to sit in jail for 9 months. And when the bond was finally lowered enough to 75,000, we were able to bond her out and hire her a new attorney. So, and her case is still up in the air.
How much kratom, can I ask? I mean, it's ridiculous.
She had, I think it was 258 grams or something like that. Not a lot.
She
Just
didn't have a
personal.
kilo or anything.
No kilo. You know, she's still facing 10 to life.
Well, I'm sorry, but y'all gotta be. Aren't you guys from? Where are you guys from?
I'm in Colorado.
You're in Colorado and Tennessee. Okay, yeah, you gotta watch out.
I was born and raised in Tennessee, though.
One of those Gulf states, you got to be careful. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunate.
It's insane.
But, yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, Mike, thank you for
question
donating.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah,
what do you think about the whole SR-17 thing?
What is SR-17? No, I keep seeing it everywhere, but what is it?
It's like SR-17, SR-17018. I guess it was like some type of research chemical that it's supposedly. I don't read a lot of like the whole papers. I just kind of get to the end of it. But I guess it's supposed to be the pain killing effects it's supposed to be as good as like morphine. However, I guess the tolerance builds up a lot faster. So people are taking it to get off 7-OH. They're taking it to get off opioids. But
it's supposed to do a reset. It's supposed to do a reset on your
Okay, well, I haven't gone further like into the clinic. What's the deal? Do you guys know like how far did it get?
That's the thing.
We don't know.
Like, and so the FDA wants to schedule that now, and everybody's, I mean, and I'm not saying it's bad. I have mixed feelings about it because I don't know a whole lot about it. But, I just think that there has to be, for instance, say it does clean off your receptors, which, if somebody keeps flip-flopping back and forth, that can't be good. You know what I'm saying? Like, that can't be good to just relapse and take, I don't know.
The thing is, have we given it to any living creature, right? Because if there's not studies, then I have a concern there, right? Like, yes, adults can be guinea pigs if they want, but you shouldn't be able to just like sell something. I don't know.
It's about to be banned. It's about to be banned too. 7-OH, MGM-15, MGM-16, pseudoindoxil, tianeptine, and SR-17. They're all about to be banned.
Yeah, I don't agree with a Schedule 1. That bothers me.
I don't either.
I've never agreed with a Schedule 1. I don't think Schedule 1's silly. And then also we're pulling everything out of Schedule 1. What's even going to be left there in the next 5 years? And there are some really potential promises with like mitragynine and pseudoindoxil because I don't think it crosses the blood-brain barrier. We haven't seen it cross in animals, and based on its shape, it probably doesn't. So if you have a compound like that, then you might not see the CNS effects, but it could be good for peripheral pain. So I know there's a research group, I think at St. Louis University, like looking into that. It, pseudoindoxil itself, and then some of its analogs as potential.
And that's not in the leaf at all, right?
No. Okay. And so then that's the question too. And I do struggle there because I don't know that I love that we just like make compounds and sell them to people.
Right.
Without, any safety data. Like mitragynine and pseudoindoxil, we maybe have a few rodent studies, but other than that, the humans are the guinea pigs. Mm-hmm. Which I guess if you're like an educated consenting adult, I'm good with it. Yeah. But like just having it available and not having that education for people who don't know what it is, that to me is
that's where 7-OH also messed up. I like to say that what they did was they ripped pages out of the OxyContin playbook in the 1990s. They ripped they start off with the free sample. There was no informed consent.
We shouldn't be free sampling opioids, like that just makes me feel a little icky. And I struggle sometimes because, I got into kratom because I lost a loved one to a heroin overdose over a decade ago. And so when I knew I was going to go back to school, I was like, I want to do something that I can bring my lived experience with like addicts and addiction and be able to like bring a new perspective, you know, to these, you know, kind of like highly educated spaces where like maybe these people haven't seen someone overdose, but I have. So I think that'll inform the way that I research and look at things differently. And in doing that and now seeing how the industry changes, it concerns me because it's like the education isn't there. And so this plant that I got into looking at to, you know, help with the opioid crisis, I feel like at some point these derivatives could be helping to fuel it, and it makes me want to cry.
I call them the molested molecules. They molested the molecules. They raped kratom. Yeah. My daughters hate that I say that, but
we just weren't in a sure enough space with kratom itself, right? We were just getting there. We were just getting there where we were like, okay, we're going to be able to have FDA maybe say some good things about this. Like they're doing their own studies and we're getting more work, and they're going to say, you can use it as a dietary supplement under these conditions, yada, yada, yada. And now it's like, that's all out the window. And it's like, at what cost? And so it makes me sad.
It's like the wrong person got a hold of it and just fucking ran with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The people who came from the cannabinoid crazy bullshit.
Spice.
Part of my language, but you know, with all those hemp crazy things that they're trying to say come from hemp. And it's like, it doesn't come from hemp. Delta 8 THC is not in hemp. You can make it. You got a surplus of CBD because CBD got legalized and hemp got legalized, and you all said, what can I do with this? And so you started hitting it with chemicals and making a bunch of crazy shit and then selling it to people. And it's like, that just can't happen because it ruins the core of these botanicals, which is, you know, truly for a good purpose for people. So I wish that, and that's the thing, it's just a little scummy, right? I'm the same.
Yeah.
People to have free choice. I want people to do, you know, adult use, educated use of, you know, whatever you want. Life is hard and it just gets harder. So as long as, you know, hurting yourself or anybody else, I'm good. But I just think, you know, the education for kratom leaf wasn't there. And now you're going to add just like pretty pure opioids to the market. And then my bigger problem is, let me say, these 7-hydroxy products aren't pure, right? Like
exactly.
They're like 80% 7-hydroxy and 20% what? Who knows? So not only like, if I would actually feel maybe a little better if they were like getting a 99.9% pure 7-hydroxy, because I know what that does, right? Like I've given that to a creature I know, but you're giving them hydroxylated who, what, when, where, like all the other alkaloids. And it's like, we don't have any clue what those do. We have some idea, but not enough that somebody should be taking that.
Right.
Pisses me off.
You know, and it's like the billions of dollars that they've made within these past couple years of.
You could have done all the studies already.
Right.
Exactly.
You had everything done. You are making so much money. You could have done a human clinical trial. You could have done an actual Beagle study that did real things, because I don't know what I saw and what I read, but it was not good. You know, you could have had all that work out there, and maybe they're doing it, right? Like, we don't know. Maybe it's going on in the background, but probably not, because I think they're dumping all their millions into advocacy.
Yeah. I'm telling you, girl, ever since that press conference from July 29th, 2025, you know, when this all started about the FDA, HHS, DEA, you know, looking to ban 7-OH, Jen and I have been in over 300 hearings. We attend and or testify. Our week is so full of freaking hearings. It's insane. It's never been like this in my 7 years of advocacy. Never.
No, it's not.
And you don't see a 7-OH in sight testifying.
No.
And they're always like, well, you know, kratom was under attack before. It's like, man, dude, you ain't paying attention, bro.
Not like this. And kratom itself, even leaf, has its issues, right?
Yeah.
Like, the first person to tell you, you know, Missy, your point, you're going to be dependent. Like, like you are on a lot of other things. And, you know, I think we did make that mistake sometimes in the kratom advocacy of not being so clear about that right away, you know, and trying to like make 7-hydroxy the bad guy, when it's like the kratom itself has issues, but like on the scale and like the body of evidence we have for kratom leaf material and like historical use compared to these things, like that's what you should be leading with. But also the fact that, you know, it's not innocuous, and you shouldn't just take it like without knowing that you're actually taking a substance that's activating certain receptors in your brain.
Yeah, you know,
just
and it's like
Angie commented about the cat's claw. I know we've brought it up before. I know a lot of smoke shops are selling cat's claw. I know there's a brand name called Buzzer that that says it's cat's claw. A lot of those products contain MGM, even if it's
Yeah.
a small amount. I've seen like 2
Those are
grams
really scary because have you guys
or
seen the
2
data
milligrams.
for those? MGM
Yeah.
15 is potent as fentanyl.
Yep.
So I
MGM
mean,
16 is more potent, and we have just none of those have ever been put in a mammal, and that really throws me off.
mhm.
I'm like, wait, we didn't even like really, we have done
So
nothing.
just because they say that it's cat's claw, it
Yeah.
doesn't make it safe.
Now they're going to piggyback off of other herbs and plants and roots and all that shit now.
Well, I think I saw an article about that too. I think it was Kava products contained MGM. No, MGP.
Wow.
So Michigan and Sudandoxo was in some Kava products or products that said they were Kava. So it's like they're going to take down all of the botanicals if
Yeah.
they keep up what they're doing, right? And then that begs the question though, is like, what does enforcement look like if they're just going
Right.
to change the label and take any mention of 7-hydroxy off?
Like who's policing the smoke shops across America? There should be like a national. I mean, I read the other day that there is like a national smoke shop association or something like that. But what are they doing?
They're all in their garages just making shit.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if you guys may not like this, but where most of the scientists have landed, at least the ones who don't, propose a ban on all kratom, is some sort of dispensary model, like with medical marijuana, is that you.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm
that
okay
would
with that.
put the education there. That would put a medical professional there. Obviously, that would still be abusable by people. It's easy to get a medical card for marijuana. If you talk to the right people, right? But it would at least put that one barrier that would, maybe help, because I don't love it being at a smoke shop. Okay, because you know what you're getting when you're going to the smoke shop. But like convenience store, things like that, like those people have, you don't know what.
Yeah,
and
when you're
that's-
walking in, you're getting you can ask questions. There's people that
Yes,
are knowledgeable about it.
they
It's
can
not
ask about
just
the medications. Yeah,
give me
other
20
people.
on pump 5 and this shit that's in a, it's like,
Grab this right here. Exactly. So
Yeah.
like, I mean, that's what I would love to see, is some sort of dispensary, pre-approval model for kratom.
But I mean, I do also I do understand. I have mixed feelings about the whole, gas station. I mean, there's desperate times call for desperate measures type of thing, and so I don't know, but if worse came to worse and that was the only, I would totally be down. Like,
yeah,
I'm totally good with that.
Yeah. And I started my journey from a smoke shop, because I watched that documentary Leaf of Faith, and the next day I went to the smoke shop, and that's how I started. And it's like that right there is what saved me. And so I get what like at the symposium we went to, I get Dr. Nora Volkow, talking about how it needs to stay available. Because I can see someone who's trapped in like illicit fentanyl addiction, or even now someone who's trapped in gonna be illicit 7-OH addiction, going in there and buying some kratom or a full spectrum extract. This is what we're seeing on our side, Dr. Erin, is the people that are addicted to 7-OH, what they're doing is they're taking a full spectrum kratom extract. They'll take that for the first 3, 4, 5 days, and then they'll transition onto the powder. And if they just want to be completely done, they're just tapering off the powder. They have to kind of like work backwards now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I always tell people, I'm like, if Leaf can't get the job done for you, and not this specific case, because I agree with like intravenous fentanyl or, analogs, you may need to go for like a higher powered extract. And that's why I wouldn't want to not have those available to people.
There's definitely a place for extracts.
For sure. But like, if Leaf can't get the job done, then kratom's probably just not right for you. Right? That's always what I tell people. Like, if you take 2 grams,
it's not for everybody.
Yeah, it may be like our brains are all different. Our brain chemistry is all different. So if you can take a moderate dose and you feel nothing, probably just move on. Look for something else. We were talking about it earlier. If you're chasing a high or something, you're gonna have to take more and more and more and more and more of this stuff. And that should be really a red flag. I think consumers is that if you can't take a moderate amount of something and get what you want, it's probably the right
That's
thing.
like people talking about we need to watch for the kids and Like my 14-year-old would never want to drink the green sludge kratom.
I can't even get
And
my
if
adult daughters to try it.
yeah, they would be so disappointed that they did not even feel high from it. They would just be like, this is awful. Like, no kids are doing that. But I mean,
Yeah.
we don't even see regular kratom for sale. It's 708.
In these hearings, in these hearings, they say that kratom was pushed out and 708 was pushed in.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think one of the things that it didn't shock me at this addiction conference, but talking to a lot of these peer recovery specialists and people who are actually seeing with like people with kratom addiction, there was a lot of 7-hydroxy, but there also was a lot of extracts, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's just the format that we sell them in. Like a little shooter is just so easy to drink too many of them. So I think we've always got to consider like form and format when we're talking about something that is, has potential for misuse. But you guys would have loved it because most of the crowd, I'm talking about leaf like the whole time, right? Because that's what we got good science for. At a certain point, people were like, what is leaf? Like they didn't even know. Most of this like addiction space doesn't even know what leaf is because that's not what they're seeing people have problems with. So it was so... one, like heartening for me because we've been banging that drum for so long. Like leaf is fine, but it just gave it so much more credence. And thankfully, John had one of like Christopher Dini's like bags with him and passed it around the crowd. But it was just shocking that they were all
and they're
like,
probably like, "Oh wow, this is just ground up
no one
leaf."
we know is taking, like no one who comes in, no one who has to come into intake is using this. And so that was like, I think there's a space there where we need to do a little bit more research of learning who, I don't discount that there's probably people having issues with not 7OH only, but also kratom and, some of these more concentrated products. But these are not the people who self-select into our surveys. All of our surveys are always leaf users. It's always people who use responsibly. It's, people who are using it to better their lives. But there's got to be a big section of these people who are taking some of these more concentrated or synthetic products that we just aren't counting in our work right now. So hopefully we'll figure out a way. I'm going to reach out to some of those people and try to see if we can get some sort of survey or something. And I think that would all be solved by serving sizes, honestly.
Yeah.
But
yeah, because in our advocacy, we saw, it was the liquid extracts first. Then came the feel free, which Mike just put that on there.
Yep.
Now feel free and 7OH seem to be battling each other. So, but we hardly ever hear about the other extracts anymore. It's just either feel free or all the 7OH crap.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we've been almost for an hour and a half. Did you want to? Does anybody have any last minute questions? I don't want to keep you for 2 hours, but we appreciate you coming on. It was good to meet you.
Absolutely. No, the dog's getting hungry, so she's staring at me. It's dinner time.
Do you have any parting words?
No, I just want to thank you guys so much. I appreciate it, and just you guys do so much work for the space, and it's just
so do you.
Yeah, so do you.
I know, but you guys are out there doing,
And now our worlds meet.
Our worlds collide.
Yeah, and always reach out. I love, talking to you guys and doing this stuff and really hearing about what's going on out there. Sometimes it's very isolating when you're on the science side of it. It's so academic.
Let me tell you something. If you want to ever advocate, I know you've advocated before at a hearing. I think Jen Mercier got you there. If you ever want to do it with us virtually, let me know.
Okay, cool.
We could use it. I tell you what.
Sounds great.
Tell you what, because it's insane the crap that we're hearing.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank y'all, everybody, for coming, and I guess we might see you tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know if we're doing our recap with Mac tomorrow or not, because I know that he's been busy all week. Busy. So I don't know if he's available or not tomorrow. So
so just be on the lookout.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Oh, hold on a sec.
Oh, she went hand left.
Got it.